whatever else. You know how Steven is. We got our number and we sticking to it. I definitely think Byron, if I had to go back, but I think somebody that was affordable that we kind of could have made work. I would like to see in Cedric Wilson kind of stick around last year. I thought he would have been, a key contributor this year, especially, moving on from Amari and then kind of needing that guy to be there. I think that would have been good.
No, I think offensively for sure, Seth is probably one that we shouldn't have let go because obviously we needed the help at receiver. But then this year we're facing like quite a bit for real. A lot of these guys are guys that we drafted that have been developed, but now it's time to pay them, So we're going to lose a lot of key pieces that we've had the last couple of years. Going down the list for potential lost free agents this offseason, offensively, we got Cooper Rush, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Noah Brown, TY Hilton, Dalton Schultz, McGovern, Terrence Steele, and Jason Peters. Of this list, I think it does make complete sense to move on from Cooper Rush because we can't afford to pay a backup $4 or $5 million. The cool thing to do in this situation would have been to sign him to a multi-year deal last offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that was before we knew Cooper Rush could step in the way he stepped in. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to move on if you have a viable replacement, but to me, I just think you come to a guy with a number like that, and if it makes sense for the team as far as the cap, like if some team want to jump out the window and just pay him, then I think let him go. But I think if he's willing to just kind of take a good deal, come back, be a familiar face with Dak, and be in that room again, I'm all for keeping Cooper Rush around.
For the right price.
Yeah, right price, of course. But I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him. But if the price gets too high, obviously, maybe we got to show him the door. So
for sure. Moving on to running back, Rico Dowdle. Obviously, he's probably going to go. He was more of a practice squad guy, maybe special teams at best. We do have Malik Davis waiting in the wings. Tony Pollard, I feel like this is something we got to figure out. He's a young back that doesn't have the carries like a Derrick Henry does. Like he hasn't touched the ball that much if you think about it. But there's going to be a big question going into this offseason, given that he broke his leg. What kind of damage did that do to him, and how well can he recover?
Well, I mean, seeing as how the Cowboys have pretty much hopped on this franchise tag thing right away, I think that lets you know how they felt about the recovery process. And then, it's been known that, Dallas has one of the better doctors out there, as far as the staff. And,
True.
They feel comfortable with him bouncing back. So I think, obviously, the rumors were kind of out before the season even started. I think it went into like the last couple playoff games. It was like the Cowboys are obviously looking at Tony Pollard for their top, tag candidate this year. So, I mean, I think we will see a Tony Pollard stick around, but, what type of effect would that have on the Zeke? I think he's a guy that I don't think you let your guy go, man. Top playmaker. At least give him a chance to bounce back. I'm not even opposed to maybe even saying scratch the franchise tag and see if this is a perfect opportunity to maybe just work out a multi-year deal. See,
I agree.
Because if you cutting Zeke right now, I don't want to say we cutting, but obviously he's about to have to take some type of pay cut. Just see, hey, maybe around 10. I mean, the franchise tag is $10 million. Just ask him, hey, man, what would you think about a contract somewhere around that salary average per year? You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe a 3 year
with incentives.
Yeah, maybe like a 3 year, $30 million deal. You know what I mean?
I do think Zeke is going to get cut to save room on the cap, but not necessarily be gone for good. I mean, he might go test the market and see that there is no market and come back home for a lesser deal. That kind of seems like the outcome we're looking at. What do you think there?
Oh, I think it's gone, man. It's tough because you don't want to see a player, who've obviously he's been like a fan favorite for a lot of years. But if you kind of read the tea leaves and you see that they're asking him to take a pay cut, not just a regular pay cut, but a massive pay cut. So,
Sure.
One thing I would say about Dallas, if you think about prior years where, where there was DeMarcus Lawrence just last offseason, and then Jerry had to step in and say, nah, pay this guy. You know what I mean? Like, don't be disrespectful. But some of these players that leave out the door, they kind of mention of being disrespected in a way, you know what I mean, that they don't feel leaving out their door in Dallas. So I'm wondering with Zeke, all he's done, what type of deal are they really offering him behind the scenes? And if so, will he put his pride to the side? You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of teams out there, believe it or not, that'll still take a Zeke. Doesn't make sense for us at this point. I understand Steven and Jerry from that standpoint where it's like, I think it's time. I truly do. So if he's not willing to take a low number, I think it has to be a number that you feel like these two guys together, Tony and a Zeke situation, top average is what, like 15, 16 mil per year for running backs. Maybe if you can get Pollard at 10, Zeke, if you want to take 6 mil and together you know what I mean, you paying what you will for a franchise running back. So hopefully he'll take that. If not, then yeah.
I do think that Zeke ends up in the Chargers. I think if he gets cut, Kellen Moore might just come scoop him up and get that power back that the Chargers need. But I think with Tony, man, I think I'm willing to give him like a pretty big deal, almost like a max contract at running back. And I mean, obviously not top dollar, but like top 5 to top 10, I think does make sense for him. Like I said, he doesn't have the carries on his body. He's still young. And it's kind of the opposite situation where Zeke got this massive deal, but he had a ton of carries already. Like they had
Yeah.
already used him up, you know? This is the opposite, in my opinion. Can it go sideways? Yeah, they say don't pay a running back a second time. But wide receiver wise, obviously we talked about Cedric Wilson was let go last offseason. This year we're faced with Noah Brown, another receiver that's been developed by the Cowboys, as well as TY Hilton, the late addition, veteran wise.
I think with TY, I mean, obviously all from a similar deal, you know what I mean? But I think I would be
Right.
willing to see what else is out there, you know what I mean, at this point. Like an actual solid number 2. And then with the Noah Brown situation, if he's willing to accept the same role, which I'm not sure, maybe another team swoops in and pay him a little bit more, then then the Cowboys feel like it's worth. We'll come in probably at a low number, but I think it's something to keeping a consistent guy around. You know what I mean? We've seen Noah Brown develop, and he's just like a tough, gritty guy that does everything on the field, and I kind of like keeping guys like that around. You know what I mean? We've
Sure.
seen guys in out the lineup all year round. And he stepped in, and I think Dak trusted him for the most part. So even Cooper Rush, that was his guy. So crazy you would ask me what side I'm on. I'm not opposed to keeping the TY around, but I want to see, you know what I mean, if we could kind of do like what Kansas City did. You see Juju Smith, he's out there. And
Right.
it's a lot of different receivers out there, whether we find it doing a draft or maybe, for agency. But I kind of want to see a younger guy with a higher potential just kind of come in that role and maybe grow with Dak in this West Coast offense in the direction we're going. I don't want to just pay this guy to be here and then next year we we're going through the same thing again. I say find you a solid piece and let's hopefully we put this number 2 thing to bed, man.
I think, we should go sign Jacoby Myers, but Noah Brown I think is important. It is a guy they've developed, so I don't know what his market would be. Like he's not going to go fetch 10 million in free agency. I don't see that. But he is vital in the run game. He's probably one of the best, I'd say top 10 run blocking receivers in the league. He's phenomenal there. I think TY offered like a nice little spark when he came in. Like he did splash like once or twice a game, but I think what he was able to point out to Dak Prescott as well as CeeDee Lamb was very important as far as like mentoring those younger guys.
Yeah.
So I think TY, like you said, like a veteran minimum if he doesn't want to retire yet, because I mean no one else is going to pay him more than the vet men. But Noah, I think I do want to try to keep him for the right price, 6-7 million a year maybe.
Yeah, just keep. It's kind of like the Ced Wilson deal last year. It's like just keep the guys around that do the thing. Like we know who they are. You know what I mean? And I think he knows who he is in this team. Like it's not a person where you feel like he doesn't know his role or we got to worry about him stepping outside of that. I think for us, like you said, great run blocker, make some tough catches here and there, be a possession receiver every once in a while, step in when we need you to. And, he offers that. And, what I mean? I like that. So if we lose him, it's obviously not something like, oh, we lost Noah Brown. But I think he's a solid piece to have in that room. You know what I mean?
I agree. Especially considering we probably missed on Tolbert, so there's not like an immediate replacement right there. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to dive into that later on. I'm hoping Tolbert takes that leap, though. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not.
Or Semi.
Yeah. We got some guys. You know what I mean? Potentially.
Right.
But maybe he can take a leap, man, and maybe we'll be singing a different tune about him this year. Hopefully.
Speaking of the franchise tag, I wish we would have tagged Cedric last offseason opposed to Dalton Schultz, who's also a free agent.
Bro, why are you so heavy on Schultz?
I'm cool.
Man? Come on, bro.
I don't see what he brought I mean, he's phenomenal. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong. He's
So
a good.
let's talk about Schultz then. That rolls us right into this segue. Let's talk about Schultz, bro.
So my thoughts here, right?
Okay.
He's gonna definitely be looking for that top 5 money. Maybe not Kelsey, maybe not Kittle, but he's gonna want to be right around there. You know what I mean? Just based off of his production. But I think you can just plug your 4th-round tight end Jake Ferguson into the same role and get the same production. You know what I mean? Like he's good at everything and great at nothing.
All right.
In my opinion. What are your thoughts there?
Nah, like I think at first, right, when last season ended, we did the franchise tag. At the moment, it didn't make sense, right? And I think because we all compared it to the Amari Cooper thing, where it was like, and that kind of just had a domino effect on every move we made, where it was like, well, I'll let this guy go and then do this with this guy, you know what I mean? But all that aside, I just think, man, it made perfect sense, man. Chemistry wise, when Dak got back in the lineup, he was exactly who we thought he was. And we can always talk about, is he this fast, or is he the fastest? Can he jump the highest? Like, is his run blocking the best? Like, but the chemistry and the rapport he got with Dak, I think it can't be, overlooked, man. I think at some point you got to realize every guy needs their guy. And for Dak, that's his guy. So it's easy to say, Ferguson or these younger guys who has the traits will step in and put up the numbers the Schultz put up, but will they have the chemistry that he has with Dak? And will it, will it look the same way when they get in there? You know what I mean? One thing about Schultz is like maybe he doesn't run past all these guys, or he doesn't move over all the biggest defensive ends in the league. But one thing is, when he needs to be where he needs to be at all times. You know what I mean? And he makes tough catches, man. And you know what I mean? If he accepts a deal that, I ain't gonna say team friendly. Obviously, I'm not willing to pay him top 5, but I mean, if we're talking like top 8, like what are those numbers really? You know what I mean? And will another team pay it before us? But I'm willing to work out a deal with Schultz if he's willing to, dance with us a little bit, man. I like Schultz.
But here's my question though. So under that Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore system, you had Jason Witten running the option route on every play.
Right.
And as he got into his later years, Cole Beasley started the option route while Jason was still around. You know what I mean? And then now Dalton Schultz just steps in and runs that option route for the most part. Like he's the guy that'll sit in zones. Will this new offensive scheme that Mike McCarthy introduces utilize the tight end that way? You know what I mean? I think it's going to be, and that I honestly don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I feel like I would much rather keep a Noah Brown than a Schultz. I feel like they're both pieces, but not necessarily the most important pieces.
Oh, of course I'm keeping Schultz over Noah Brown. It just depends, man. Like I said, it depends on what he wants. Like if a team like, let's say the Bears, let's not even say the Bears. I think Cole Kmet is, promising, but just one of these teams, like maybe the Jets or somebody hops out the window and they offer him this money, bang. But it's a good chance that he goes out there, he tests the market, and he comes back to Dallas and say, look, all right, I was kind of expecting this number, but will y'all accept this number? And I don't think Jerry and them would probably be too opposed to bringing the Schultz back, man. And we keep trying to go with this one tight end thing, Ferguson and Hendershot, yes, but I kind of like having 2 or 3 guys, man. So if it makes sense to keep all of them, it just depends what we go out there and get. If we can go, get a D-Hop or, we'll look at the receiver market or swing a trade for maybe a Keenan Allen or somebody else, then yeah, Schultz, go ahead. We can replace you. But depends on the options and what's out there. I like Schultz, man. I do. I'm hoping we can keep him.
Schultz. I like Schultz. I just don't like Schultz over $10 million.
And I would put it like this. You know what I mean? Last year he asked for top tight end money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this year, do you expect him to do anything different? Probably not.
No.
If it was about money, he was blocking people and on Twitter and doing everything else. So if it was about the money, then he's probably going to ask for some high money again. I guess it just depends on what his market value dictates and how people view him outside of Dallas. Because we know how we look at him in Dallas. We're like, hey, you maybe this guy, you may not be, or is he a system tight end? And is he replaceable? So I guess we'll figure out something.
I don't know. That's tricky. I don't know. I guess I don't think you can pay Dalton Schultz elite money because he's not an elite player. He's a good player. So if we start talking elite money, then you get yourself in a mess.
Yeah.
We paid Zeke elite money and he was no longer elite. You know what I mean? Like
I agree. Yep.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I would love to keep Schultz, but
And
I
does
would love
that
to keep him
hinder
at $8
Ferguson's
million.
growth? I mean, that's the only thing.
No. But also, Ferguson got banged up like 2 or 3 times this year.
Right.
So his health is a question. Hendershot, though, that little Tasmanian devil, man.
I like Hendershot, man.
He's
probably
fun.
the best blocking tight end on the team, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
he
he
definitely
cracks.
has a place
Probably
and a
the
role,
fastest.
you know what I mean, moving forward. So
And he rocks on special teams, too.
for sure.
So he plays everywhere. Moving on to the offensive line, though, we got Connor McGovern, Terrence Steele, and Jason Peters. I'm assuming Peters is as good as gone. He just came in, collected that check, probably eased his way back into retirement. But I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him around if we had to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would come back to him with the same deal. Like, hey, it didn't work out this year.
Yeah.
Would you run it back one time? Think he
And
would
then
he got
you
like
can
the
tell him,
better
like, look,
minimum or something like that? If he's willing to take the
yeah.
deal, then you can have a spot. You know what I mean? Think he was a good
And
voice.
we wouldn't be signing him to start. He would be playing like a swing tackle role.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And he seemed comfortable with that role too. It looked like he kind of embraced the, you know, the whole mentorship thing. Kind of took Tyler Smith under his wing. Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, long as it makes sense, and I don't think he's going to be asking for a lot. If he wants to play, then why not? I like it.
Yeah, and then as far as McGovern goes, I think we lose him no matter what because I think Lyman can fetch a lot of money on the open market. So he'll probably go get himself a nice deal and end up somewhere like, not Miami, but like Houston or something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think Connor McGovern proved, I ain't going to say he proved a lot of people wrong, but I think we looked at it from a standpoint of like he wasn't, I think we get so caught up into these top premier offensive linemen around the league that we realize a lot of teams don't have 5 stars at the offensive line position, you know what I mean? And I think one thing Connor McGovern is, he's serviceable. And once we started losing bodies and guys had to move around and you see him able to step in, we didn't really lose too much of a beat. He's not the guy that we thought like going into the league, like not going to the league, but to the season, like why is he starting with Tyler Smith? That's an argument to be had. Like, no. But I mean, if he's like, you know, like I ain't gonna say 5th, but even like the 6th or 7th offensive line off your bench, a guy that can step in and be a starter, I would like to keep him around too. Is it a sure thing? You know what I mean? Probably not. Like you said, they probably get money elsewhere. But if he's willing to, you know, take a lesser role, probably not be a starter this year, I say keep him around as well.
I think he can go fetch starting money and go start somewhere. Like, why take less to be a backup? So I do think he's as good as gone. Now, on the other side, if we can work out a deal with Tony, I am not opposed to franchise tagging Terrence Steele. I want to keep Steele bad, but I don't know what kind of damage that knee went through.
I think it's a little different situation. Terrence Steele is actually restricted, so we kind of, the ball is in our court a little bit more. So I believe we can. It doesn't affect what we do with Tony.
Oh,
so
got you.
You know, I mean, I do think truly, I think they're probably already on it. If it's a guy I wanted to keep around, I'm completely 100 with you like that. I think you look at it from a standpoint of, yes, Tony, my top playmaker, and then what changes that offense went through once the Terrence Steele went down. And it lets you know how big of an impact and the type of player he was, the caliber he is. Not only like what he was, but and the leap that he made in this last year and a half. I just think projecting forward, you know, he has the work ethic. You know what I mean? And I think he could continue to develop. He should have been a Pro Bowler this year if not for the injury.
Sure.
So I think you're looking at that caliber of a guy, and you got to keep a Terrence Steele around. And you have a Tyron Smith in there, you know what I mean, who can start at right tackle until he goes to rehab, get back in there. And, you know what I mean, I just think it makes sense. You got to keep linemen, hard to find. And we got to see it through. You know what I mean? We've seen him go from trash, everybody say, pull Terrence Steele out of the game, to where's Terrence Steele, bro?
Yeah.
Knocking bodies. Him and Zach Martin on that side. Crazy.
And then on top of that, we get our new offensive line coach in there. Maybe he can actually teach him something and develop him even further. So there's a lot of things moving here, but I do like the idea of Steele over McGovern, because McGovern could be a starting left guard, right guard in the future, whereas Terrence Steele is a starting right tackle.
Oh,
he is ready to roll. You know what I mean?
100%. For sure, go Steele. Priority list, Pollard, Steele, right? Schultz,
yeah, absolutely.
If the number makes sense. Everybody else is kind of like, if you take this, like you know how Steve and I'm coming. Like I said, we have our number, and if you don't take it, cool. Like we cool showing them the door, but it'd be nice to have you.